Driftland, the Magic revival, lies at the borders of several genres. It is part real-time strategy, part 4X, part kinda-sorta city or base builder, and at the same time it also has an active pause feature. So that basically makes it a real-time strategy with pause 4X. And that may not actually be a subgenre that exists, but I stand by that description. The developers, Star Drifters, recently released a free DLC for Driftland called Nomads that basically introduced an entire new game mode and adds some minor extra features to the base game as well. I have already covered Driftland 2 previous times on the channel. The first time it was in 2018 when they entered early access, and the game was more than super playable and interesting back then, and the second time was when I streamed its by now fully released version 2 years later in June of 2020. Well, it seems that only a week or so after that stream they decided to release Nomads, and I obviously couldn't ignore it considering how much I enjoy the game. But before we go into what Nomads brings to the Driftland recipe, allow me to go through the basics of the game for those new to it. Driftland takes place in a high fantasy setting in a world whose landmasses have been shattered into innumerable separate floating islands due to some past magical mishap. Magic had been dormant for a long time, but now it's back and you are one of the new magic wielders with the power to rule over and move the islands themselves. From this perspective of an almost almighty magic wielder, you'll have to build your chosen civilization by magically whipping up various types of buildings, incentivizing your people with money to look for resources, because even though you can magic up the buildings, you'll still need physical resources to do so. The problem is, you're not the only super powerful magic users on the map, so sooner or later, you'll have to fight.
Let them fight.
That's the basicest synopsis of the game I can come up with. I go in far more detail in my video of the early access. It has way more nuance and interesting features than that, so check out that video if you want the details about Driftland in itself. So now that being said, what's up with Nomads? The Nomads are a new race that was added to the game as a result of community feedback, and they do not control like the other races. So while in a traditional game you'll have to incentivize your people with money in order for them to explore, prospect or attack various islands, and you'll also have to construct a lot of different types of buildings in order to generate the much needed resources, Nomads don't work like that. Nomads work in a very traditional RTS sort of way, meaning that you can directly control each unit and tell them where to go and they'll go, no money required. This exclusively real-time component is an interesting way of approaching the game. It should be noted that you can play the normal game in real time as well, but that would make it really difficult as you advance through each game and the number of buildings, islands and troops increases, so it definitely needs the pause feature. On the other hand, Nomads don't really build that much, because they're nomadic, they move around a lot. They have one main building and besides it they can make towers and palisades. The main building is the sole resource producer the Nomads get, and it will generate different resources depending on the island's biosphere it is set on. Now, I have to make it clear that Nomad games are their own separate thing. You won't be able to play as Nomads in a normal game, since the only real-time method of playing wouldn't work with the traditional requirements of the original game. Nomads have their own types of scenarios which you can play as a wholly separate experience. It's basically a separate RTS game within the larger Driftland game. The paths of progress changed in Nomad games as well. In a normal game, the paths of progress act as sorts of skill or ability trees in which you can invest progress points for various types of passive buffs, either to your units, your buildings, or towards magic using. Since at least one of those wouldn't make sense in a Nomad game, they are changed as well. And now going back to the original Driftland game, what has changed since the early access version I played a while back? It now has campaigns, and you can also play with all the 4 races. They have some differentiations between them, especially in terms of them needing different biospheres for optimal resource production, and they approach things a bit differently, but overall their differences are mainly ones of nuance and personal preference. As expected, a bunch of minor changes and balancing happened to most of the game, but overall it still plays very much the same. Free game mode replaced skirmish mode, and it now comes with a lot more customization options where you can fiddle with everything from the number of starting resources, the rate of resource production, as well as things like tax per citizen, population growth, hunger rate, repair costs, and even the speed of repairs. It is a dream for the creation of some highly particular gameplay experiences and something all hardcore 4X players need from their games. Driftland: The Magic Revival is a great game if you're looking for a non-turn-based sort of 4X with some really cool graphics, animations, and interesting gameplay. The free Nomads DLC only adds to that recipe a separate side dish of real-time only gameplay, and what's most important is that the developers have been rebalancing the DLC since its release as well, as a result of community feedback. So Driftland: The Magic Revival gets my nonsense seal of approval. Hey there, dear watcher who's still watching, thank you very much for sticking around. I've recently started a Patreon page, so if you want to and can throw a couple of bucks my way to help me get more games and improve my recording setup, go on there and check out the tiers and rewards. If you can't do that but still want to help me grow my channel, please consider subscribing, turning on the notification bell, and of course, sharing the video far and wide. I've been Steven Nonsense, thank you very much for watching, see you next time, and have a great rest of the day.